Hi everyone, so doing this project today, and what I've done here, this is, or what was, the ashtray and cigar lighter and cup holder in the MR2. As what I did was I basically gutted the internals of it out. I needed to retain the brackets because obviously it's got to be fitted back in there. And that was a bit of a job really, because the back frame of the cup holder was where the back part of these brackets screwed to. So I had to figure out a way to get this in. This panel itself I bought from Amazon. I think it was about 35 or 40 pounds, something like that. You got a voltage gauge, which is something that I wanted in the MR2, so I achieved that. You got two USB sockets there, and a standard 12 volt power socket, and the various switches that I want to be able to control the things that I'm doing with the MR2. So one of these, for example, will be for switching the nav pod on the dash on and off when I install that, and various other bits and pieces that I'm going to have along the way. So yeah, so what I did was I basically gutted around the edge part as close to as I could to retain as much of this bezel surround, because I want it to look kind of factory. I'm not sure if I'm gonna, once this is actually in, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it in there or whether I just pull it out. But obviously this is the thing with custom stuff, you either have a go and see what it looks like, or you don't. It's pretty much in there now. Used some sort of epoxy type adhesive to bond these joints in so they don't come out. They're fixed in now. And to be able to screw mount the panel in there, and it basically has been bonded into, I just put a massive wad of glue in the back there. I thought of all different ways of doing it, and I was going to engineer brackets and all kinds of great stuff. In the end I went for the low tech but effective option of just wadging in the glue, and that did the job. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to araldite or epoxy glue or whatever along these edge parts here as a double bond, and then to finish this off, because I don't like this, I don't know if you can see there, you can just sort of see the edge of where the cup holder insert went, and where the ashtray folded out on that part. So I've got some black silicone here, and what I'll do is I'll just run a bead of that along there to tidy that up. Yeah, so I'm thinking about making a slanted center console, so it comes from the dash and comes towards you and where the gear lever is on the car, because I don't really like the fact that the stereo mount and then this section here is so flat. I mean, it's okay, but it would be, I think, a bit nicer if it just sort of came, rather than being flat like that, it was a bit more, don't know, I guess it's sort of like how the old Mark II MR2s are, where the dash kind of smooths and comes out, forms into the center console. I've seen the new, well, they're not new, but the alternative center consoles that are available from places like Midship Garage that CL Performance make. The issue that I'd have with those is because they come out, where that sits there, it sort of comes out wider. Because I'm I'm 6'1", so my knee has to go somewhere, and that goes into that sort of space. So I don't want to have to take that up where it's pushing my leg across, and I know some people have commented on that it sort of reduces the space for the driver where your legs are, where that new portion meets the center console, but it does look quite neat, I will admit that. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to araldite epoxy resin this edge in to give it a bit more support. I mean, it is solid in there, it's not coming out anyway, but I just like to do it sort of belt and braces. Now in terms of fitting in, it takes, basically what I shall do is I shall hook this up to the cigarette lighter feed, and then each one of these has got a cable for its switched power out, and I'll add those as I need them as time comes, and I'll push a blanking over that, so if they do invariably get switched on, we haven't got a live terminal there just poking into whatever's sort of behind. I don't want any shorting issues or anything like that. Let's get on with it. Okay, so it's the next day. The epoxy resin's been drying since yesterday afternoon, and that's drying sterling. Quite happy with that. See there, it doesn't look particularly pretty on the back there, but to be honest, so long as it holds it, which it is in place, then that's fine. Let's take off the masking tape to make sure none of it bled through. Okay, so this is why I did put the masking tape on, because as you can see there, it's just up to the line, so it's fine, it's not come through. So if you look there, it's okay. But you can see the epoxy resin there, where there was a slight gap. Now, as I say, I'm going to put a black mastic line around there just to neaten that up. But had I not have masked that off to kind of trap the resin glue when it was in its sort of most liquid form, that would have just bled out over the edge there, and then I would have ended up having to do something with this edge. So it's just something to bear in mind. If you're using that sort of glue, it will run wherever it wants to. So just going to put this mastic on now, and then once that's dried, hopefully later today we'll be able to get it in the MR2. Okay, so that didn't go too bad. It's a bit wet now, it'll dry a bit darker, it won't be so shiny, but that's okay, I'm happy with that. This is the panel that I'm going to swap out, this one here, and to get that out I've got to take these side panels off, because the screws to take them out there and each side. So the other side is exactly the same as I'm going to show you to take this side out. And if you want to take this is obviously not the factory stereo, but if you want to take the factory stereo out, then it's pretty much the same sort of thing. You have to take these two pillars off, and to do that you pop this off here. He says, oh, there we go. So you pop that off there, and then it's these two screws here, just there. And then this whole panel here just unclips out and gives you access to the screw points. Your screw points to remove that panel are there, and there's two more on the other side. So another one there and another one there. There's only the one screw in, and that's what holds this whole panel in. So it's a bit of a tight fit there, but it will come. And then the same the other side, and then that will just lift out. Okay, so that's 4 screws taken out, and then this panel will just lift away. And normally you would have the cigarette lighter power on the back of the power socket, so bear in mind when you withdraw this out you'll need to unplug that. Okay, so with this unit out now you can see side by side what the difference is going to be there. So there, and in terms of the back, that's how that looks. So when I cut this panel out, when I cut this out, I cut all along the bottom here. There's a screw here you've got to take out to release this cage part from the back of the cigarette lighter. There's another screw that holds that in there, and then I pretty much just dremeled out all around the edge. But remember to leave the tabs on. There's a tab there, one here, and this helps secure this cage. and then there's another one here and another one there, so make sure you don't dremel those out, keep those tabs in because you'll need those. The internals here and the actual tray, that'll get junked. So that's the top of there as a comparison, and then that's what I was left with. Okay, so the only thing I've got left to do now is to put some spade terminals onto here. I'm going to use the previous power feed that fed the existing power socket or cigar lighter socket here onto to power my voltage, the USB, and if I need it, the cigarette power socket. And I'm just going to put 2 spade terminals on there, the same as these 2 here, because I could cut the plug off if I want to, but if I want to return the car to standard, I don't want to really cut the loom, so that's why I'm going to put appropriate terminals onto the end of there. Okay, so here it is in the car. I'm quite pleased with how that looks in relation to everything else. Not overly happy with the side here. I think once I get my skills up with woodworking and routing, then I might actually make a whole fresh panelling one block and then make new recesses, cut recesses in that to fit these all in, so it's just one complete front plate panel. But all works fine. I'm certainly pleased with the functionality that it gives me, because I've now got USB charge. I've got a voltage indicator which is fairly accurate, well, pretty accurate actually. It's the same as my multimeter. So good all-round little project there. Let me know in the comments what you think, what you might do differently, or any other suggestions to make this look a bit better, and see you on the next MR2 video perhaps. Bye for now.